A big shakeup today in the race for president. After facing mounting pressure to step down, President Joe Biden announced today he's abandoning his bid for re-election. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Meckles.
And I'm Anusha Roy. At 81 years old, Biden insisted for weeks that he was staying in the race, even as a lot of Democrats were pushing for him to step down after a poor showing at the presidential debate.
In a statement today, President Biden said, in part, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
Biden is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee for president. In a post on X, Biden said his first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Harris as his vice president, and that is the best decision that he has made. Biden also said Harris has his full support and endorsement. Harris, meanwhile, released a statement of her own saying that she plans to earn and win the nomination and do everything in her power to unite the Democratic Party. While some congressional leaders are endorsing Harris as well, others are stopping short of backing her. Some Democrats are calling for an open nomination process. DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison says the party will take a transparent and orderly process to choose the next Democratic nominee. Harrison said that he was emotional when he heard Biden was dropping out of the race.
I am emotional about the president's decision because this president, Joe Biden, has been a transformational president. He's been a great leader. He's a good man.
Harrison offered no specifics, but said Americans will hear more from the DNC soon. 90's political reporter Marshall Zollinger is explaining the process now that Biden is out.
Let's go over some DNC scenarios. 1976, that's the year the Centennial State became centennial. 1976 is also the number of delegates needed to become the Democratic nominee for president. Had President Biden gone to the DNC next month in Chicago, he had about 3,900 delegates ready to vote for him to make him the nominee, including the 72 from the squarish state of Colorado.
But it's important to recognize that every single delegate in Colorado is pledged to vote for the president.
In the March presidential primary, Biden earned enough support for all of Colorado's delegates to go to the DNC and vote for Biden. Colorado Democratic Party Chair Shad Murib explains we are not unique.
Yeah, so every delegate in the country is pledged. This is a reform that was created after 1968's contested convention. And so this is not a new rule. Every delegate that has been sent to Chicago from Colorado or Minnesota or California or wherever is committed to vote for the president.
Okay, so what now, since Biden has dropped out before the convention? Anyone who wants to be nominated has to get 300 signatures to be nominated. You know, John Hancock's. No more than 50 from any one state.
Certainly, if it was an open convention situation, you'd have many candidates wrestling to get those signatures to be placed into nomination.
No doubt Vice President Kamala Harris would be nominated, though others could as well. And Colorado's delegates would not automatically be committed to Harris.
Our delegates would, of course, look to his guidance and his support for any other candidate should he choose to provide it, especially Vice President Harris, and weigh that decision pretty seriously.
In other words, it would be a free-for-all until someone gets 1,976 votes.
Of course, it'd be great to speak with one voice, but every delegate is, of course, their own person with their own concerns for this country. I think the fact
We actually just talked with Chad as well about the conversation happening right now with Colorado delegates. We'll have that coming up at 5:30. We have heard from several of Colorado's Democratic lawmakers coming out in support of the president's decision to step down, including Colorado Governor Jared Polis. In just the last 5 minutes, he tweeted out saying that he is supporting Harris. Governor Polis also released a statement earlier that reads, quote, "This could not have been an easy decision, but it is the right one." Senator Michael Bennet wrote in part about President Biden, "We may not know what comes next, but by passing the torch to a new standard bearer, President Biden has again given us the chance to beat Donald Trump." Senator John Hickenlooper said, quote, "President Biden has always put the country before any personal concern or ambitions. It is just who he is." We've also heard from Congressman Jason Crow, who wrote, "In 2020, President Biden saved us from a second Trump term, and by stepping aside, he may have done so again." Some top Republicans, however, do not think that Joe Biden is going far enough. They are demanding that he resign the presidency as well. In a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump wrote that Biden, quote, was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve. House Speaker Mike Johnson echoed that and called on Biden to resign immediately. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is also accusing Democrats of contradicting the will of voters who chose Biden as their nominee. The 82-year-old, who is a longtime friend of Biden, has not joined GOP calls for Biden to resign before his term ends.
Donald Trump's running mate already taking aim at Kamala Harris in a post on X. J.D. Vance accusing the vice president of lying about Biden's mental capacity for the past couple years. He wrote, Biden's been the worst president of his lifetime, and said Kamala Harris has been right there with him every step of the way. Some Republicans here in Colorado are also planning for a shift in the GOP strategy now that Biden will no longer be the opponent at the top of the ticket. State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer represents Larimer, Weld counties, and is running for re-election in November.
I think it's helped us even at the local level, and at the state level, because so much of our races are determined by who's at the top of the ticket. Now we're going to get back to focusing on what we should have been focusing on instead of his age and is he able to be president again in a second term and finish that term, all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to focus back on how do we make this about the border, about crime, about the cost of living. I mean, it's no longer an election about Biden's fitness. So again, it's good for the people of America, but it's also good for Republicans at this point.
We will have so much more in this show about Biden's decision to step away from the race coming up just in the next half hour. We're also going to be hearing from some Colorado delegates traveling next month for this now historic convention.
Colorado needed some rain desperately, and boy, did we get it. This is a look at some of the hail in Centennial just from a few hours ago. And we had been waiting for that to kind of,
Yes,
help you after being so dried out, and we finally got it.
Yes, and Kathy, what we don't need is what we had last night, right?
Yes, yes.
Like a real quick, just a heavy downpour. But what are we looking at for today?
More heavy downpours, actually, and we're seeing the heaviest rain this hour just to the west and south of downtown. We had heavy rain, hail, thunder, lightning, severe weather yesterday, so it has been a stormy weekend. But the other big headline is the cooler temperatures. Today, temperatures in the 60s and 70s. The rain is beneficial, but problematic. Folks are still out and about in the high country in areas like Aspen. Beautiful there, but the Rocky Mountain National Park Visitors Center, a round of showers coming in. We are tracking evening showers that will be heavy at times. Warmer, drier weather settles in tomorrow. We'll be back to the 90s before we're ready. So tonight, it's all about these slow-moving storms dropping heavy rain on saturated soils from the storms we saw yesterday. We do have a flash flood warning, and this out just east of Colorado Springs until 7:30 in and around the Widefield security areas and southeastern Colorado Springs. 1 to 3 inches of rain this afternoon and more showers coming in. Heavy rain reported in Castle Rock, Kiowa, Parker. And while we're seeing a little bit of a break from the heavy precip here in Denver, more rain is expected tonight. Flood advisory is out across Colorado Springs down to Walsenburg and Trinidad. Temperatures will stay comfortable tonight, but we do have the potential for severe weather later on. I'm going to have the timing and impact of those storms, and that's coming up.
Kathy, thank you. A Fort Collins police officer and a man are both hurt after a shootout today. Police say this started with a car rolling over at the intersection of Bryan and Mountain Avenues. That's near Fort Collins City Park, just before 12:45 this afternoon. Police say the driver got out with a gun, shot at the responding officers, and then the cops fired back. According to police, the man then ran into Grandview Cemetery, continued to shoot the gun. Police brought in their SWAT team. They eventually approached the now injured man, took him to the hospital. An officer was also hurt in the shooting and hospitalized. They are expected to recover. We do not know how the other person, that man, is doing. We have a crew on the way to Fort Collins tonight. We'll bring you more on air and online at 9news.com as we learn it.
Denver police say a man shot and killed an intruder at an apartment complex right across from the University of Denver. Investigators say the man came home just after 1 a.m. and was surprised by that intruder and then shot and killed him. The shooting is still under investigation.